the new voice conversation thing in ChatGPT where you just talk to it instead of typing and it reads things back to you is just blowing my mind. I mean, the information is the same as it is when you're just typing, but there's something magical about that conversation interface. I mean, it feels like you're talking to a supreme being, a very polite one, but I mean, it feels magical. And I think what it is, the thing that's blowing me away, is that this is the first time a machine, like a bot like Siri or Google or whatever, feels like it actually understands me. I mean, normally when I'm talking to Siri, it's like 50-50. I mean, if I do a simple thing like set an alarm, it gets it. But I tried to, my kids want to play the song called The Weather Song. And the first time I tried it, it just told me what the weather was going to be that day. The next time it plays a random, I mean, this is what it looks like. Hey Siri, play the weather song. No. So, wrong song. It's not the weather song, it's playing weather. Anyway, it just doesn't get it at all. Whereas with ChatGPT, you can just vomit at it. And you'll see that. I'm going to give you some examples of my conversation with ChatGPT about why leaves fall, which is kind of crazy. Like, how is it useful to have to regrow your leaves every spring? So I didn't understand that. Anyway, I'm asking about that, and you can kind of see how it parses my just rambly questions and understands it. If we could somehow connect ChatGPT to all the other interfaces, that is going to be an awesome thing. Okay, so I think I understand why the evergreens would be better in winters, because there's just not enough time to grow leaves and not enough sun ever. So you want to have needles getting energy all year round. So, but why don't evergreens just dominate all the time? Why is it that in more temperate, and does temperate mean like warmer than winter? And why don't the evergreens just dominate everywhere? It seems like it's a better strategy. I just asked like 4 questions at once.
Great questions.
Oh, it heard that.
The interplay between evergreen and deciduous trees is a complex dance of evolutionary advantages and trade-offs.
Okay.
Let's break down why evergreens don't just dominate everywhere. 1. Efficiency in favorable conditions. Deciduous trees, with their broad leaves, can capture more sunlight and photosynthesize more efficiently during favorable conditions.
They might be better growers or something.
In regions with distinct seasons, the summer months offer ample sunlight, and deciduous trees can capitalize on this to produce a lot of energy. To address your question about temperate,
it remembered.
Yes, temperate generally refers to regions that have moderate temperatures, not too cold like the polar regions, and not too hot like the tropics. They typically have distinct seasons, including a noticeable winter and summer. In essence, while evergreens have a clear advantage in consistently harsh conditions, deciduous trees can be more opportunistic, capitalizing on favorable conditions and adapting quickly to changes.
Here's a little demo. Oh, it started listening already. Okay. I don't understand.
No worries. How can I help you today?
So, it seems like it would take a lot of energy and nutrients for trees to regrow all their leaves every spring. Why is it that trees' leaves fall in the fall?
That's a good observation. Trees, especially deciduous ones, drop their leaves in the fall primarily as a survival strategy. Here's why. 1. Energy conservation. As days get shorter and temperatures drop in the fall, the process of photosynthesis becomes less efficient.
So I can tap to interrupt it. Oh, it's listening. It's hearing me listen.
Yes, I'm here and listening.
Ah!
If you have more questions or topics to discuss, just let me know. What's on your mind?
Could you continue on your explanation for why leaves fall from trees?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
Could you continue again on your explanation for why leaves fall?
Of course. So, the shedding of leaves by
Very
deciduous
polite.
trees during the fall is a combination of environmental adaptations and survival mechanisms. Firstly, as temperatures drop and daylight shortens, photosynthesis becomes less efficient. Trees reduce energy consumption by dropping the leaves, which would otherwise require energy to maintain. Secondly, in winter, the conditions are often drier, and by losing their leaves, trees can minimize water loss through transpiration. This helps them conserve water when it's scarcer. Another reason is protection. The delicate structures of leaves can be damaged by freezing temperatures. By shedding them, trees avoid potential harm to these structures during the cold months. Lastly, when leaves fall and decompose on the forest floor, they return nutrients to the soil. This nutrient recycling benefits the tree, as it can then absorb these nutrients when needed. So, while it might seem counterproductive for trees to lose and then regrow leaves every year, it's a well-adapted strategy that helps them thrive in changing seasons.
So I can hit that little pause button so I can talk without it listening to me. That was a lot to take in there. The crazy thing at the end was that he's kind of like commenting, he, it, she, they, commenting on like the contradiction that I pointed out, not just like directly answering the question. So there are some trees that don't drop their leaves. Is that right?
Absolutely, you're right. Trees that don't shed their leaves are known as evergreen trees. Unlike deciduous trees, which lose their leaves seasonally, evergreens retain their leaves throughout the year, each adapted to their specific environment and conditions.
So are there some environments where both of those types of trees exist? It seems like where I am in the Midwest of the United States, there's a lot of both types of trees. I would have expected one type to kind of dominate depending on the environment.
You're spot on in observing that both
Thank you.
deciduous and evergreen trees can coexist in certain environments, including many parts of the Midwest. Here's why this happens. 1. Different niches. Even within the same general environment, different trees might occupy different niches. For example,
Niches.
a low-lying area that tends to be wetter might be more suitable for one type of tree, while a drier, higher area might favor another. 2. Varied adaptations. Trees have evolved a variety of strategies to deal with environmental challenges. Deciduous trees lose their leaves to conserve water and energy during winter, while evergreens have developed leaves that can resist water loss and cold. Both strategies.
Are there some examples of environments where there are only deciduous trees or the other type of tree?
Yes, there are definitely environments that tend to favor one type of tree over the other. Here are some examples. Deciduous dominance. 1. Temperate deciduous forests. These are found in regions with distinct seasons, warm summers and cold winters. The cold winters make it challenging for trees to maintain leaves year-round. Examples include much of the northeastern United States, parts of Europe, and areas in East Asia like parts of China and Japan. 2. Certain wetlands. In some wetland areas, conditions may favor deciduous trees like willows and alders that can handle saturated soils. Evergreen dominance. 1. Boreal.
Wait a second. What is deciduous again?
Sorry about that. Let me clarify. Deciduous refers to trees and shrubs that
just
shed
forgot
their
which
leaves
is which.
seasonally, typically in the fall.
Oh, that's the shedding one,
During
not
this
the needle
period,
one.
the leaves often change color before dropping. The main reason for this shedding is.
Thanks. Can you continue on what you were saying before?
Of course,
This is wild. This is
I
like
was discussing the environments
a real
that tend to favor
conversation.
either deciduous or evergreen trees. Discussing the environments that
real
tend to favor
conversation.
either deciduous or evergreen trees. For deciduous dominance, 1. Temperate deciduous forests.
Okay, these are
These
the ones that
regions
lose their
experience warm
leaves.
summers and cold winters. The cold winters lead many trees to shed their leaves to conserve energy and water. Places like the northeastern United States,
Pine
parts
needles
of
would be
Europe,
better in colder
and areas in East
environments.
Asia, such as parts of China.
But I thought the deciduous ones could adapt by just dropping their leaves. Does it? What is it about the needles that are better adapted? Okay, there's two different strategies. There's dropping your leaves so you don't lose moisture, and then there's just having little needles that are more protective. So why does that one strategy work better?
You've touched upon a key point.
If it makes sense of that,
Both
this
strategies,
is crazy.
shedding leaves and having needle-like leaves, are adaptations to deal with specific environmental challenges, primarily conserving water and enduring harsh conditions.
Yeah, conserving the water. Okay.
1. Deciduous trees. By dropping their leaves, deciduous trees reduce water loss through transpiration during dry or cold periods.
What's transpiration again?
Certainly. Transpiration is the process by which water is taken up by plant roots from the soil, moves through the plant, and then is released
never
as
knew that.
water vapor from the leaves
Most people
into
probably
the
learned that
atmosphere.
in elementary school, but I didn't know
It's
that.
essentially how plants breathe. When the plant opens its stomata, tiny pores on the surface of leaves,
Stoma what?
to take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, water vapor also escapes. This loss of water vapor from the plant to the atmosphere
Whoa.
is transpiration.
Oh, so it's like
It
sweating.
plays a crucial role in the water cycle and helps regulate the temperature and moisture levels within a plant.
Thanks. Could you continue on what you were saying before?
Of course,
So they say this is
I was discussing the different
He's giving me
adaptive
a
strategies of deciduous
reminder.
trees and evergreen trees with needles in response to
yes.
environmental challenges.
yes.
1.
Thank you, now I remember.
Deciduous trees. These trees shed their leaves during certain seasons to reduce water loss through transpiration. When they drop their leaves, they're essentially going into a conservation mode
Okay.
to endure conditions that might be unfavorable for photosynthesis, like cold winters or dry periods. Without leaves, they also conserve energy because they don't have to support those leaves
So
in
why
harsh
is
conditions.
that strategy not as good as the
2.
needles?
Evergreen trees with needles.
Yeah. Okay.
The needle-like structure of evergreen
So there's two different strategies. I got that. But is it something about like a super long winter where the deciduous trees, the ones that lose their leaves, that strategy just doesn't work? Like what's the factor that gets worse in the winter or a long winter?
I see where you're coming from.
Oh, you get interrupted.
Let's delve into that. In places with very long, harsh winters, the duration and severity of the cold can be a significant factor. Here's why the evergreen strategy might be more advantageous in such environments. 1. Duration of winter. In areas with prolonged winters, the period without leaves for deciduous trees can extend for many months. This means a long time without photosynthesis.
Okay, that makes sense. I
Evergreens,
guess.
on the other hand, can photosynthesize on warmer days throughout the winter since they retain their leaves.
You just don't
2.
have any summer,
Energy
I guess.
expenditure. Regrowing leaves every year requires energy. In regions with short growth.
So overall, it's not perfect. Like it interrupted me a few times when I was still clearly forming a thought, but I guess without seeing facial expressions, it's kind of hard to tell that. So you end up adding to try to space it out so it doesn't start jumping in. And it might be nice if I could interrupt it without having to tap a button, especially for the car writing, because I can't really go more than 20 seconds of it talking without having another question or a clarification I want to ask. Speaking of car writing, it's kind of like listening to a podcast that's choose your own adventure from a really interesting expert, except you get to tell it what rabbit holes to go down. So overall, this is like it feels like a new thing that's really neat. Right now, it's only available on the native apps, and you have to pay the $20 a month for the GPT Plus, but recommend checking it out.